Badlands. What is a Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the brief. I'm Ashe American. I'm going to be your tour guide this morning as we head through the Badlands News Brief. How's everybody doing? Let me check and see who's here. What's up, Firestorm? Me 53, Too Big for Bike, North Star 07, C Marcano, Diana D11, Twisted 01. It's good to see you guys. Good morning. Good morning. Timotheus, Fat Chance, Joe 04. M. Kathy Lee. We've got all the Mags is here. What's up, Maggravator? Judy French. Tweeter Trash is in the house. One Hot Gran. We've got Silent Whisper. And we've got Dina Boyette. Good morning. Good morning. We've got Enlightened Patriot. It's so good to see you guys today. T. Dengenis. Sometimes I butcher them, you guys. I'm sorry. Garbear 5, it's good to see you as well. All right. So let's hit our first sponsor. Give me one moment, please. Before we get into everything here. Attention, all you Badlanders with purring pals and feathered friends. Say hello to Love Litters. 100% pure kiln-dried wood, free from chemicals and oh so kind to Mother Earth. No dust, no mess, and no toxins. Just a lightweight solution that's gentle on your wallet and even gentler in your home. Our biodegradable litter is crafted from wood destined for landfills, giving it a new purpose in your pet's life. Cats love it. The astonishing formula works like magic to neutralize that notorious cat urine odor, keeping your home pine fresh and welcoming. For bird lovers, it zaps moisture from bird droppings, crumbling them away, all while being safe if pecked at or ingested. For reptiles and critters, too, the mix is crafted to dilute the pine scent and ensure that those little lungs stay happy and healthy. Plus, every 30-pound bag of Love Litters will last up to 6 months, saving you money. Transform your pet care routine today. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/litter. That's badlandsmedia.tv/litter, and breathe easy with a litter that loves your pet as much as you do. All right. Sorry, got a little ahead of me with the tabs there. All right. Let's bring up the Badlands News Brief. As a reminder, every Monday through Friday comes out about 5 a.m. for me, so 7 Eastern. Badlands News Brief comes out on the Badlands Substack, badlands.substack.com. Burning Bright pulls this together, and a bunch of us contribute to it. So make sure that you're following Badlands on Substack, badlands.substack.com. Head over and like the Badlands News Brief for us. We appreciate it. All right, make sure everything looks okay. Make sure everyone can hear me. Oh, me53 says we missed you yesterday. Yeah, I missed you guys too. I put my donor deck here on the desk because a friend of mine gave me one of these for Christmas, and I'm kind of in love with it. And so it's not a sponsor of today's show. They were sponsors in yesterday's show, which is why you made me think of that, me53. But if we have time at the end, we will talk about this product. Not as an advertisement, just as the fact that this is really freaking cool, you guys. It's really, really well made, really beautiful, and I kind of love the concept of it. But first, let's talk about the brief. Excuse me. Colorado Secretary of State says Trump is back on the ballot unless the Supreme Court rules he should be disqualified. Now, if you follow the Badlands News Brief and you follow Badlands more broadly, and you watch Why We Vote and follow the coverage of this story, then you know this is not news, but let's get into it. Donald Trump is back on the presidential ballot in Colorado after an appeal put a stay on the ruling that removed him under an insurrection clause of the U.S. Constitution. The Colorado Republican Party filed on Wednesday asking the U.S. Supreme Court to look at the lower court's ruling that disqualified Trump from running on the presidential ballot in the state due to his role in the January 6th Capitol riot. Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold announced that Trump will, for the time being, remain on the ballot, which goes to print on January 5th, unless the Supreme Court affirms the lower court's ruling or otherwise declines to take on the appeal. The 4-3 ruling earlier this month said Trump would not appear on the state's primary ballot, according to a 155-year-old 14th Amendment clause that bans those from office who engaged in insurrection. Although Colorado's 10 electoral college votes are unlikely to go to the Republican candidate anyway in the general election, that's a good reason to step on the voting rights of all the Coloradans, and the state isn't highly important in the GOP primary, again, the ruling could set a precedent for a slew of other states looking to remove Trump from the ballot. The Daily Mail. All right, so there's another, and we've got this Maine article, but I'm going to read the first part of my take, then we'll come back and talk about Maine. What theater? As we reported here on the brief on November 21, November 29th, and December 6th, the deadline to finalize the 2024 primary ballot, according to the statute, is today, December 29th. The deadline to print the ballots is January 5th, and the Colorado Supreme Court stayed their ruling until January 4th. This is the part that irritates me, because the ruling was always stayed until January 4th. If relief was sought under the Supreme Court, then the stay will continue. But this was already stayed. This isn't a change, is my point. This is always been the timeline. December 29th has always been the timeline for when the ballot had to be finalized, and we've been reporting that here on the brief, since the case was underway. Quote, we conclude that because this is the Supreme Court ruling, Colorado Supreme Court ruling, we conclude that because President Trump is disqualified from holding office of the president under Section 3, it will be a wrongful act under the election code for the secretary to list President Trump as a candidate on the presidential primary ballot. Therefore, the secretary may not list President Trump's name on the 2024 presidential primary ballot, nor may she count any write-in votes cast for him, cites the statute, and then says, but we stay our ruling until January 24th, the day before the secretary's deadline to certify the content of the presidential primary ballot. If review is sought in the Supreme Court before the stay expires, it shall remain in place, and the secretary will continue to be required to include President Trump's name on the 2024 presidential primary ballot until the receipt of any order or mandate from the Supreme Court. Colorado GOP has already appealed the case to the Supreme Court, and President Trump is expected to appeal as well. Should Secretary Jenna Griswold finalize a ballot that didn't include Donald J. Trump under the current circumstances, she would be violating a court order. So this is a fabricated news story. Yesterday, I heard people all over the place saying that Jenna Griswold changed her mind. Oh, she changed her mind. She didn't want to be caught up in that. She saw the writing on the wall. She saw what's coming. No, this is the process. This is the process, and the deadline is today, and the deadline has always been today since she published the election calendar like a year ago. So this isn't really news, but we do have some news, and that takes us back up to Maine. Maine bars Trump from ballot as U.S. Supreme Court weighs state's authority to block former president. Maine's Democrat Secretary of State on Thursday removed former President Donald Trump from the state's presidential primary ballot under the Constitution's insurrection clause, becoming the first election official to take action unilaterally as the U.S. Supreme Court is poised to decide whether Trump remains eligible to return to the White House. The decision by Secretary of State Shenna Bellows follows a ruling earlier this month by the Colorado Supreme Court that booted Trump from the ballot there under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. That decision has been stayed until the U.S. Supreme Court decides whether Trump is barred by the Civil War era provision, which prohibits those who engaged in insurrection from holding office. The Trump campaign said it would appeal Bellows' decision to Maine state's courts, and Bellows suspended her ruling until that court system rules on the case. In the end, it is likely that the nation's highest court will have the final say on whether Trump appears on the ballot in Maine and other states. Bellows found that Trump could no longer run for his prior job because his role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol violated Section 3, which bans from office those who engaged in insurrection. Bellows made the ruling after some state residents, including a bipartisan group of former lawmakers challenged Trump's position on the ballot. AP News. All right. So late breaking Thursday, on the same day, Colorado Secretary of State puts President Trump on the ballot despite a favorable court ruling. Maine's Secretary of State unilaterally decided to remove him with no court ruling at all. 45 can appeal to Maine's Superior Court within 5 days, as you saw in the article, says that they're going to. Now, I personally see this action in Maine as a great development because it places additional pressure on SCOTUS to deal with the question of insurrection. And it's all about the question of insurrection. You guys have heard me say that a whole bunch of times. It is all about the insurrection. That is, and you can see that in Maine, right? She's a Supreme Court out in Colorado decided that he did. That's, was tried in a trial. It was appealed through the court system. And in the Colorado Supreme Court, they said Trump engaged in insurrection. So I guess Secretary of State in, another state across the country, can unilaterally remove him because we haven't effectively dealt with the question of insurrection. So I see this as a good thing. There's still, as we've discussed, there's cases all over the country. A lot of them are that Castro guy that won't have standing, doesn't really matter. But a lot of them are state court cases where they're kind of waiting to see what happens here with, Colorado is out on a limb and the Supreme Court is looking to rule. Anything that pressures the Supreme Court into not ignoring the question of insurrection and actually dealing with the question of insurrection, in my view, is a good thing. All right. I saw she stayed herself. Yes. She has, what did she call it? It'll be up here in the article. Suspended, I think they use the word. Yeah, she suspended her ruling until the Maine state court system rules on the case. Now, the state court is where you'll have standing for this kind of case. And yeah, interesting stuff. All right. We have another take on the story. We have a post here from John Harold. If Maine's Secretary of State is willing to take Trump off the ballot, how can she be trusted to run Maine's election with real Donald Trump on it? Excellent question. A lot of the takes on the Trump-Maine situation are bang on, but this succinct one might hit the nail on the head when it comes to the core takeaway for the reachable middle of the American mind we haven't quite tapped, and that patriot side of the info war is designed to. The continued witch hunt on President Trump and the MAGA movement has now infected all theaters of power projection, from the political and narrative media to the cultural, academia and entertainment, and even legal. But the simplest questions are often the most effective when it comes to seeding the collective mind. MAGA already believes elections are rigged. The normie layers of the collective mind, by and large, do not, even if that's a shrinking portion. So, even when the deep state fails to successfully remove Trump's name from ballots nationwide, how are these normie layers supposed to sink back below the serene waters of ignorance to pretend the 2024 election is fair and secure? The masks are off. And that comes to us from Burning Bright. I think it's a great point. I also think it's all about the insurrection. Because the insurrection, I was in a Twitter space last night talking about this, and someone was asking me, like, what's the, what are the biggest impacts? And as I've said, and I think we're going to see this come into focus, you guys get, you'll recognize it when it happens. But if the insurrection finding as it was laid out and written into the Colorado District Court trial, the findings that she laid out, and I cataloged all of them on my Substack when the ruling came out. If that stands, and it has been affirmed by the Colorado Supreme Court, and it's, further documented in their ruling, if that is allowed to stand, it doesn't just impact President Trump. It impacts anybody who went to January 6th, who also previously swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution. That can include, young service members, young veterans, People who spent a short amount of time or a considerable amount of time in public service and maybe had aspirations to run for office someday. They are that, so it immediately impacts all of anybody except the president. May impact the president. Supreme Court's going to rule on that, but definitely impacts anybody other than the president who swore an oath to the Constitution, who went to January 6th. And I would argue anything else they call insurrection in the future, because if they're allowed to get away with this, we're going to see insurrection bingo, right? It's going to pop up everywhere because it allows them to persecute their political opponents. So I think this is very important. All right. American spies confront a new formidable China. Beijing spy catchers all but blindsided the U.S. and China a decade ago when they systematically rounded up a network of Chinese agents working for the CIA. As many as 24 assets providing information to the U.S. were executed or imprisoned, among them high-ranking Chinese officials. The CIA is still struggling to rebuild its human espionage capabilities in China, the agency's top intelligence target, according to interviews with current and former officials. The gaps leave the U.S. with limited understanding of secret deliberations among Chinese leader Xi Jinping and his inner circle on key security issues such as Taiwan and other topics. The official said, "We have no real insight into leadership plans and intentions in China at all," said a former senior intelligence official who until recently read classified reporting. Strengthening the human spy network targeted on China is one goal of a titanic, but mostly secret, shift at the CIA and its sister U.S. spy agencies. It comes amid a larger transformation in U.S. security policy away from fighting insurgencies around the world and toward preparing for a possible great power conflict with China and Russia. After 2 decades of hunting terrorists, the $100 billion a year U.S. intelligence community is retraining personnel, redirecting billions in budgets, and retooling extensive spy machinery to focus on those potential adversaries. The Wall Street Journal. Our take. If you've been following the Power Hour, or if you took the Q drop seriously, the concept of a sovereign alliance isn't new to you. In essence, the theory posits that Trump was instrumental in the formation of an international alliance of anti-cabal leaders prior to implementing devolution, with the main players being Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and Mohammed bin Salman. What ties these figures together is their shared pledges to root out corruption within their governments, returning their lands to sovereignty. A recent report by Wall Street Journal is a massive actual to map onto this theory, as it blows the whistle on China's anti-corruption purge by attempting to paint the CIA as the biggest losers of the deal. Losers of the whole deal, lamenting the fact that their intel gathering, i.e. spying efforts on China, went dark during the advent of said campaign, the same one that ensnared Hunter Biden's business partners. Notably, the CIA has, quote, no real insight into China's leadership plans. Many such cases. Burning bright. All right. Let's talk about our next incredible sponsor. If I can find the video that I need. And that is Goldco. Skyrocketing inflation, endless war, $31 trillion in debt, $4.7 trillion in new proposed taxes. This government just won't stop. Now they're hiring thousands of new gun-carrying IRS agents in all 50 states. I wonder what that's for. Truth is, things could get a whole lot worse if you're not protected. That's why we've partnered with the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco. Goldco has helped people like you and like me place over $1 billion in gold and silver. For those with retirement accounts, they're offering the Brief supporters up to $10,000 in free silver when opening a qualified IRA account. For cash buyers, you're going to love this. You can get bonus silver just for making a purchase. If you buy $1,500 worth of precious metals, you'll get $750 in bonus silver. If you buy $25,000, you'll get $1,250. This is your opportunity to protect yourself from our out-of-control, corrupt government. Go to badlandsgold.com to learn how you can get started today. Again, that's badlandsgold.com. All right, back to the brief. All right, guys, I'm getting a little bit of a cold. I'm trying to ignore it because I do not have time to have a cold. All right, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger refuses to testify under oath about Secretary of State's Dominion voting machines. This is such a fun story. As the Gateway Pundit reported earlier this year, the Federal District Court for the Northern District of Georgia unsealed the 96-page Halderman report in June 2023, the security analysis of Georgia's ImageCast X ballot marking devices. Now I'm going to pause the story there if you missed it. When that report was released, Brian and I went through it line by line with Clay Parikh, voting systems expert. Only person that we know that has a history of testing voting systems for a voting systems testing lab, and is indeed an expert on them. And if you missed that, go back and check it out. It'll blow your mind. University of Michigan professor of computer science and engineering, J. Alex Halderman, and security researcher and assistant professor at Auburn University, Drew Schringall, collaborated on the report where they discovered many exploitable vulnerabilities in the Dominion voting system's ImageCast X system. The system. There we go. Far left Georgia Judge Amy Totenberg sealed and covered up the results of the investigation on Dominion voting machines in Georgia and sat on the report for 2 years till its release last summer. Now, Secretary Raffensperger refuses to testify before the court in January regarding the state's voting machines. The Gateway Pundit. Like I said, this story is awesome. And the timing is really interesting, right? Like this case, the Curling v. Raffensperger case was brought, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in 2017. This is a case into the machines that was brought to look at President Trump's 2016 win, right? Challenging President Trump's 2016 win. It's Democrats. It's a Democrat judge. It's a Democrat expert, and it's coming out right now. The Georgia case is expected, Curling v. Raffensperger, expected to go to court in January, which is all very interesting timing when you consider that we are, less than a week from the new. We're just today's Friday, so we got 3 days to 2024. Interesting timing. Our take. When Professor J. Alex Halderman's report was finally unsealed, Brian and I went through it line by line with voting systems expert Clay Parikh. The report's findings are an astonishing rebuke of the safest and most secure election in history narrative. That is, a well-respected Democrat cyber expert proved that Chris Krebs, a lawyer with an undergrad in environmental science, was wrong about the security of the 2020 presidential election. Krebs' dangerous lie has been propagated arrogantly for 3 years by institutional talking heads with, like Krebs, big mouths and impressive talking point discipline, but no credible expertise on which to make such assertions. It's actually worse than all that. Than Georgia and all the states covering up known vulnerabilities in the critical infrastructure that secures our votes. In Georgia, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger is fighting to keep those vulnerabilities in place. According to Halderman, quote, astonishingly, and again, this is not Ashe writing this part, this is J. Alex Halderman, the cyber expert and systems expert who was retained by Democrats to challenge the machine landscape and systems in the wake of President Trump's 2016 win. Quote, astonishingly, Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who has been aware of our findings for 2 years, just announced that the state will not get around to installing Dominion's security patches until after the 2024 presidential election. End quote. It's true from Raffensperger's office, quote, also, in reviewing the process, it will require an update of nearly 45,000 pieces of voting equipment, along with the subsequent acceptance testing This process will take tens of thousands of man hours. Therefore, the statewide move to 5.17 will occur following the 2024 election cycle. This is an astonishing admission. Raffensperger is effectively saying, hey, we know the machines are vulnerable, but it'd be super time consuming to make them less vulnerable. So in the interest of remaining comfortable, we're just going to keep things the way that they are. If you have a problem with that, you're a conspiracy theorist and likely a dangerous extremist. Oh my gosh. Cat ownership and the risk of increased risk of schizophrenia. I'm copying this because I am definitely going to look into that. All right, sorry everybody. If my son's cat's gonna make me schizophrenic, I feel like I need to know that. All right, where were we? Dangerous extremists. Where'd the danger? Okay, there we go. Also, gets even worse. Raffensperger is now refusing to testify in the curling case, which has taken years to reach trial. Nothing says trust our election system like a non-technical politician unilaterally deciding to keep vulnerabilities in place and then refusing to testify about it. As a reminder, Curling v. Raffensperger is a Democrat-initiated case brought in the wake of President Trump's 2016 victory. This case proceeding to trial in early 2024 will shine a massive spotlight on the wanting election system that American elected officials and bureaucrats gaslight as the gold standard and the safest and most secure system in the history of Earth. It's anything but, and it's unclear how curling can be tried without addressing the machines. It's all about the machines. And it's coming into focus in a presidential election year. What a time to be alive. And yeah, I mean, I'm really encouraged by where we are in the information war as it relates to elections, because it's coming fast and furious. I love that this case, this is one of those things where, I would love to hear John and Kyle and everybody, BB, and maybe at the GART 3 DPH panel, we can ask them a question and get all the both DPH crews to talk about it. But the timing of this case could have been tried, at any time since 2017 when it was brought, and it's being brought now in 2024 in the run up to the presidential election. That timing is bizarre to me about how that makes sense. All right, so let's see, where are we on time? All right, well, okay. Russia warns Japan against hostile actions of exporting Patriot missiles for Ukraine. Russia and Japan historically were enemies, but in recent decades moved to being frenemies given improved relations, but also the ongoing simmering standoff regarding ownership of the Kuril chain of islands just north of Japan. The last 2 years have seen relations get tense once again due to Russia-Ukraine operations and Tokyo's growing defense cooperation with the United States, which has evoked Beijing's wrath as well. This is especially so in light of last week's announcement by the Japanese government saying it is preparing to ship Patriot anti-air missile defense systems to assist Ukraine. It's a plan the Biden administration has sought and considers a major diplomatic victory. Japan just announced significant changes to its arms exports rules in order to make this happen, something the White House has welcomed at a moment Kyiv is running low, on ammo and advanced arms. It's also another big move signaling that Japan is abandoning its historic post-World War II neutrality and pacifism. Predictably, Moscow has blasted the move and warned Tokyo it faces grave consequences. Kremlin spokesperson Maria Zakharova said in a Wednesday briefing, quote, "The Japanese side loses control over the weapons with which Washington can now do whatever it wants." She added, "It cannot be ruled out that under an already tested scheme, Patriot missiles will end up in Ukraine." She explained that such a scenario will be interpreted as unambiguously hostile actions against Russia and lead to grave consequences for Japan in the context of bilateral relations. Zero hedge. All right. Okay, I see what you guys are laughing about now. Buzz Bannister says, I've had cats all my life and never had any sort of problem. Yeah, I have as well. Well, I've had cats all my adult life. My father and brother are allergic, so we never had cats growing up, but my husband's family was a, cat family when I met them, and then turned me into a cat person as well. I never really had cats before marrying my husband, and I love them. But as several of you have said, Judy French and T. Dengenis, ivermectin kills parasites, and I am a proud horse paste user. So I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay with the cat schizophrenia. But, let me know if anything changes. Our take on this Russia, Japan, Ukraine story. Seems everyone is warning everyone these days, and I think that's a feature of the awakening rather than a bug. While Cold War tensions obviously featured world superpowers, the collective mind is currently watching an international game board reset in the seeming absence of Donald Trump and under the guiding hand of Joe Biden. This shifting is seeing the following macros develop on the global scene. Tensions from the Israel-Gaza crisis are now spilling over into the wider Middle East, with tensions traversing the Suez Canal, currently embroiled in a tense kinetic standoff with Houthi rebels, whose escalation could result in a global economic crisis cascade. Tensions between China and the West and Russia and the West are continuing to escalate, with the former still eyeing reunification with Taiwan, as the latter warns globalist satellite states from intervening in the flagging Ukraine theater. All the while, the normie layers of the mind war search for a peacemaker. Burning bright. Yeah, peacemaker. President Trump made more peace than anybody in recent history and, longer history too, less recent history. President Trump was the ultimate peacemaker. Hashtag Abraham Accords. Democrat mayors renew pleas for federal help and coordination with Texas over migrant crisis. The mayors of Chicago, New York City, and Denver renewed pleas Wednesday for more federal help in coordination with Texas over the growing number of asylum seekers arriving in their cities by bus and plane. The mayor's requests come as U.S. cities have struggled to manage the increasing number of migrants from Texas and other states. Republican Governor Greg Abbott's busing operations has transported more than 80,000 migrants to Democrat-led cities since last year. His administration recently stepped up the practice with chartered planes. The mayor sharply criticized Abbott and the effort, saying buses arrive at all hours and outside designated drop-off zones with no details on who is aboard. Oh, you mean like the waves of migrants coming into Texas that Democrats have repeatedly refused to deal with the border? The mayor sharply criticized Abbott and the effort, saying, I read that. We cannot allow buses with people needing our help to arrive without warning at any hour, day or night. Really, Eric Adams? Because people are arriving any hour, day and night into border cities. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said at a virtual news conference with all the other mayors, This not only prevents us from providing assistance in an orderly way, it puts those who have already suffered in so much danger. AP News. How? So these people have crossed the Darien Gap. They've come up. They've gotten over the Rio Grande. They've gotten into the United States interior. But busing them at night puts them in so much danger. I'm going to need Eric Adams to explain that a little bit more. Here's the take. And I wrote this. And this take, or this story, is quite amazing when you look at the quotes. The quote, for many months, we were able to keep the visualization of this crisis from hitting our streets, but we have reached a breaking point. Notice how they didn't say we've been able to keep this crisis from hitting our streets, or we've been able to manage this crisis. No. We were able to manage the visualization of this crisis. In other words, the optics. First of all, that statement is fundamentally untrue for all these cities. The migrants have been on the streets since the Afghan withdrawal, and these mayors have encouraged them to keep coming. And I want to say here in Denver, I live in one of the suburbs of Denver, and they've been like Mayor Johnston has been doing social posts with the migrants on the streets, right? We've got massive tent cities here in Denver, and they're building new ones to deal with the influx of all of these migrants. And they're out doing social content with them on the streets. So they haven't kept the visualization from reaching the streets. They've actually been exploiting and kind of marketing based off the fact that the crisis already has hit the streets. Second, the visualization of the crisis. Said another way, we're losing the optics of the Great Migration. All of these cities are sanctuary cities. The designation of sanctuary cities originally appeared to be a political rebuke of border communities, sounding the alarm about the unsustainable situation at the border. Border communities, to their credit, forced liberal cities to put their money where their rhetoric was by sending migrants to the sanctuaries. The cities pretended for a while, but now they're unable to keep the visualization of this crisis from hitting our streets. The question is not how to absorb more migrants or to which city to move them next. The problem will only worsen until we deal with the border and deport non-asylum seekers. I'm not holding my breath. As they said in the press conference, the real issue is the visualization of the crisis, the optics of it, not the crisis itself. Every one of these mayors and elected officials broadly would waste no time removing unwanted persons from their property, but they'll clutch pearls and screech compassion if you want to remove them from yours. All right. Argentina's President Javier Milei signs a decree slashing 5,000 government jobs. Argentina's new president, Javier Milei, has revealed plans to lay off an estimated 5,000 state employees hired this year before he took office as part of wider efforts to slash government spending amidst the backdrop of the country's troubled economy. Mr. Milei, an economist, signed a decree on December 26th stating that his government won't renew contracts for the thousands of government workers hired since January 1st, according to reports. However, the decree, which was published in the official gazette, includes exceptions, such as in the cases in which workers were hired as part of quotas regulated by law or other types of special protections, including those with disabilities and personnel who are considered indispensable, according to Spanish newspaper El País. The decree also noted that other government contracts may be made before 23. The decree also noted that other government contracts made before 2023 will also undergo an exhaustive review in the 90 days, according to the publication. Overall, Mr. Milei's government estimates that more than 5,000 workers will lose their jobs, although the Association of State Workers, 8, it's a fun name of a union, a workers' union, anticipates some 7,000 employees could be affected. The Epic Times. Our take. There's a lot of noise in the InfoWar ether regarding new Argentina President Javier Milei, with alternating claims that he's a sovereign savior of an ailing economy to a Weffian puppet installed specifically to rug pull the sovereign movement on the world stage. When you dig through the noise in an attempt to locate signal, however, I believe that so far Milei's net effects remain positive. Milei vowed to cut government spending and jobs to reduce the size of government itself. Upon taking office, he is already making good on that promise. To the tune of 5,000 positions, a decidedly anti-globalist, anti-communist move. Milei has publicly signaled that the central banking sector will be targeted by his admin and that it represents an existential threat to prosperity. Milei is directly referencing the concept of accelerationism by claiming that gradualist programs always end in failure. He's ripping off the economic band-aid. Let's keep an eye on the bleeding. And that take comes to us from Burning Bright. All right, before we get into the bonus items that we have today, I want to talk about Angel Paste. You guys know how much I love Angel Paste. Angel Paste is my magic beauty serum. It has replaced all the expensive eye and face creams in my daily routine. Seriously, Angel Paste is changing my relationship with my skin. This incredible healing balm is all natural, organic. It's American made. It's made only using food grade plant oils, which means you can eat it. Patrick's sister Barbara makes it at her home in Spring, Texas. Every piece and part of this product is sourced in the United States of America, from the bottle to the label to the cap to all of the goodness inside of the bottle, the actual amazing Angel Paste that I love so much. And Barbara prays. So not just over every bottle, she prays during the process of creating this product. Truly is magic, Angel Paste. It's amazing. And it has really changed my relationship with my skin. It's now a common thing to hear in my house from one of my Y chromes. Hey mom, where's the Angel Paste? Because they need it for one skin ailment or another. It is, it's amazing, amazing stuff, but you don't have to take my word for it. If you go to angelpaste.com, you can click on the reviews and see just pages upon pages of people who feel exactly the same way. Angel Paste is an absolutely amazing product. It is all natural skincare. It's made by Patriots for Patriots, and your skin will thank you. To love your skin again, go to angelpaste.com and use promo code Badlands. That's angelpaste.com, promo code Badlands. And I want I was going to try and bring up the reviews, but instead I am going to make sure I have the deal here. All right. Anyone who purchases a bottle of Angel Paste between December 22nd and January 1st gets entered into a raffle to get the Angel Paste Sugar Scrub, Miracle Butter, Lip Balm, and their new Plumping Facial Serum. Now, these are exclusive Angel Paste products. When Patrick told me about this, he's like, we have limited quantities of these. You can't have them, which really, it made me sad because you guys know how much I love Angel Paste. And Angel Paste Miracle Butter, Angel Paste Lip Balm, Angel Paste Sugar Scrub, Plumping Facial Serum. All these things sound amazing, and I want every single one of them. But you will be entered, if you purchase between December 22nd and January 1st, you will be entered into the raffle to win that gift bag of all these new Angel Paste products that are coming out that we're hopefully going to be able to have access to in 2024, but are, as of right now, they're exclusive. So angelpaste.com, everybody, use promo code Badlands if you purchase over there. It's absolutely amazing, amazing stuff. And while we're at it, let's please remember everybody to smash the thumb. That is the number one metric, and we've been doing really well on the Badlands on the Rumble leaderboard. Badlands in general has been doing really well over the weekend. We had 6 shows on the leaderboard in great spots, and 4 of those shows were on the leaderboard in the top 10. And we're continuing to grow, continuing to get more eyes on Badlands. So please make sure that you hit the thumb, because that helps us in ways you cannot imagine. Appreciate it so much. Let's see. I know Patrick usually does like a here's where we're at with the thumbs. So let me see where we're at. Okay, we have 3,500 people watching. We have, from what I can see, 475 likes. So we need to amp it up if we want to get to 20%. 20% is kind of the target we set for this show. And we appreciate it so much. So please, everybody, smash the thumbs. If you're looking for more ways to support Badlands Media, you can head over to badlandsmedia.tv and click support Badlands, or go straight to badlandsmedia.tv/boost. That is the Badlands boost. You can now give a Badlands boost. It's like a Rumble rant, only better. Support your favorite Badlands shows with a boost anytime. Even if you're not watching live, your donation will go directly to Badlands with no middleman. And we appreciate that so much. All of your support. What else? Let's see. You can shop America First companies at the Badlands shop. With every purchase, you'll be supporting Badlands Media and an America First business. And don't forget to become a Badlander. Opt in to be alerted to new shareable content and be our street team as we've discussed before, you go to badlandsmedia.tv, click connect up at the top, and then become a Badlander. Be a Badlander. Come join our team, our street team. And by all means, as I said before, please smash the thumb. You guys help us out so much when you do that, and we greatly appreciate it. All right. Oh, didn't even realize that the Angel Pace thing was still up there. Sorry. All right. Bonus items. Federal judge rejects press freedom claims by Project Veritas in Ashley Biden diary case. A federal judge in Manhattan has ruled that investigative journalism outfit Project Veritas should have to turn over documents detailing how the organization came into possession of the alleged diary of President Joe Biden's daughter, Ashley Biden. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres of the Southern District of New York ruled in favor of a special master's recommendation that Project Veritas should be made to turn over all documents in its possession that detail how it came into possession of the diary in the fall of 2020. Judge Torres ruled against claims by Project Veritas that it has journalistic non-disclosure privileges under the First Amendment and should not be made to turn over its record. This is freaking terrifying from a First Amendment standpoint. With Judge Torres' ruling, federal prosecutors could soon take possession of more than 900 documents detailing how Project Veritas came into the possession of the diary. Judge Torres ordered a government evidentiary filter team to sort out any documents not protected under attorney-client privilege and turn those documents over to government investigators by January 5th. The legal battle over Ms. Biden's alleged diary began in the fall of 2021 when federal agents carried out search warrants at the homes of several Project Veritas employees, including the group's founder and then CEO James O'Keefe. Project Veritas has asserted that federal investigators should be compelled to return records seized from the organization, arguing that the record seizure violated their First Amendment rights as a press organization. The Epoch Times. So, media organization is being ordered to basically reveal its sources. It's unbelievable. Things are escalating like crazy, and I hear Gordon and BB in my head saying accelerate when we see stuff like this. This is a scary acceleration. As a journalist who deeply, rabidly believes in the protections of the First Amendment, this is a very dangerous escalation. I hope it gets appealed. And I hope that this judge gets smacked down and put in her place for violating the First Amendment. And I mean that metaphorically. I mean, I hope that the higher court rebukes her ruling. Shouldn't have used the word smacked because, it could be taken as a coded dog whistle for extremist violence. Beer sales plunged to lowest levels in 24 years thanks to Bud Light's disastrous Dylan Mulvaney campaign. Beer sales in the U.S. are expected to plunge to their lowest level since 1999, largely due to Bud Light's massive fall-off after its disastrous tie-up with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, industry experts said. Sales declined by more than 5% in the first 9 months of the year, dragged down not only by the backlash and the boycotts against Anheuser-Busch-owned Bud Light, but the changing habits of younger drinkers, according to beer marketers' insights. Bud Light sales have steadily declined each month by 25 to 30% since Mulvaney's now infamous posts touting the brand on April 1st, according to industry data. The Mulvaney fiasco unseated Bud Light as the number one selling beer in the U.S. after 2 decades of dominance, while other beers grabbed some of Bud Light's market share, with Constellation brands Modelo unseating Bud Light and Molson Coors brands Coors Light and Miller Lite seeing upticks. Their growth did not make up for Anheuser-Busch's declines. This year in particular, Anheuser-Busch is driving the decline in the industry, David Steinman, vice president and executive editor of the publication, told the New York Post. Checking to see if there's any beer commentary. I don't see any beer commentary in the chat. So yeah, I mean, so what this is saying is that Bud Light saw massive fall off and decline because of their journey, their venture into the culture wars, failed venture into the culture wars, I should say. And other beer manufacturers picked up some of that. So people were like, I'm not drinking Bud Light. I'm going to drink Coors, or I'm going to drink Modelo. That happened to a lot of people. But according to this story, a lot of people said, I'm not doing it. I'm just not drinking beer anymore. That seems a bit excessive, right? It seems like that's an overreaction, overcorrection. But who am I to judge? I generally drink wine. My husband drinks beer. I haven't really had a ton of I haven't really drank beer. It's like it's because so when this whole Mulvaney thing happened, people were like, I'm gonna, drink Coors. And then it was that was Pride Month, remember? And then, you had in Pride Month, you had Coors leading the charge in a lot of the pride parades and things. And it was almost as though the, rebuke of stop making me endorse your cultural nonsense if I decide that I like your product, if I want to use your product, right? Stop making me choose a beer and then feel like I have to endorse transgenderism by drinking this beer. And they don't, they haven't, hasn't corrected from that. I think a lot of people still feel that way, certainly about Bud Light. But some people maybe about beer broadly. I don't know. Beer makes me bloated. So I generally drink wine if I'm going to drink, but I don't drink that much. Because as someone said in the chat, drinking just makes you stupid. Timotheus said it. Yeah, I think excessive drinking makes you stupid for sure. Rots the brain. Alcohol rots the brain, everyone. All right. Multiple financial executives commit suicide amid China's financial crisis. This story is crazy. As the Chinese Communist Party continues to purge its financial system, state media recently revealed that a number of bank executives have committed suicide or died suddenly. According to the authorities of Yingshan County, Hubei Province, Wang Shenyong, the president of Yangtze River Village Bank in the country, died of carbon monoxide poisoning on December 5th at the age of 54 years old. It was reported that Wang committed suicide after using his position to defraud depositors of 40 million yuan, about $5.6 million, under the guise of capital raising. According to the official media reports, Du Haitio, deputy manager of Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, Credit Suisse asset, died of a heart attack while running on December 13th at the age of 49. Born in 1974, Du was deputy general manager of ICBC Credit Suisse Asset Management Company Limited and chairman of ICBC Credit Suisse Asset Management International Company Limited. On December 10th, Gong Danji, the president of Huaxia Bank's Tianjin branch, fell to his death. The local police station confirmed the news. The Epic Times. Kitty, $5 Rumble Rant. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. The acceleration is needed because we have a lot of smooth brains, over 50% of the population who should have woke up during the Summer of Love and trainee store hours. By the way, $5 challenges to Badlanders for Ashe. Thank you so much for the rant. I don't know that I would agree that 50% of the population are smooth brains. I think 50%, I've long said that I think 2/3 of the population is awake. And, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be outspoken activists, right? Doesn't mean that they're going to be awake, but, and standing up in the fight with those of us who've been in the fight for a long time. Just means they're awake and see what's going on. And I think that number is continuing to grow. In October 2022, we had the New York Times. I love it. I mention it all the time because I love this poll so much. Absolutely stunned themselves when they found that, oh my gosh, according to our polling, which was very scientific and done with Siena College, and they put such a massive amount of resources behind rolling out this poll, which I think is what made it so fun in general, because they had this poll come out and they're like, we were shocked. There's, 68% of people don't agree that the greatest threat to democracy is President Trump or MAGA extremism or insurrection. They think it's government corruption. This is insane. Why do the people think this? And it's because it's true. right? I mean, that's where we kind of are when it comes to 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 where the people are versus where the political establishment is. So yeah, I agree with sentiment that we need to wake people up. I just don't think that 50% of people are asleep. I do think, however, that there are still a lot of people that are paralyzed by fear. So awake, see what's going on, afraid to act because of the fear. I don't want to be targeted. I don't want to be put on that list. I'm just going to keep my head down, right? I think there's a lot of that going on. Fat Chance, $5 for the cause. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I want to show you guys these because Brian and I were just talking about how cool we thought this donor deck was. And then I went to lunch with a friend of mine and she had one for me. She gave it to me for Christmas. So you get the challenge coin, very well made. I wanted to this thing is so well made. This whole product is really, really well made. But you have the challenge coin and I love a challenge coin. I have 3 of them now from different people that have given me challenge coins at different events. And kind of like the idea of Badlands having the challenge in place. And then these cards themselves, you guys, they're absolutely gorgeous, really, like I said, strong and well made. There's the jokers in there that are kind of funny. There's a card that has a number of Bible verses on it. We've got Esther 4:14, Isaiah 45:1, Proverbs 17:17, Ephesians 6:10 through 12, Proverbs 17:23, and Exodus 20:16. This product is very, very cool. And then of course you have the little kickstand, right? So you can go, I can get the lid on. So you can, have it as a display item. Really super cool kind of stuff. Stripper Tech, $20. Thanks for being our voice in Colorado. It's absolutely my pleasure, honor, and duty to speak out against the powers in Colorado. AJC3, I'm in. God bless. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Badlands Daily is up next. It's Friday, so it's Chris Paul Day, and we're the news now. And so I'll jump over and join you guys in the chat over on Badlands Daily. Have an absolutely amazing day. Have an absolutely amazing weekend, everybody. And we'll see you right back here on Monday, which is New Year's Day. The next time I see you guys on The Brief, because I'll see you tomorrow on Raising a Nation, Sunday on Culture of Change. But the next time I see you on The Brief, it'll be 2024. Everybody have an absolutely awesome, awesome weekend. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.